Well, you guys have requested it that I do some more videos on the 1930 Oakland V8 and its engine. So let's go check it out. So if you haven't already seen it, link will be down in the description below to the last video I made on this engine. I kind of just went over the basic history of the engine, the car, the Oakland company, and kind of showed you a few parts that I kind of got back into better shape. Well, in this video, I'm going to be going over most of the other parts that I have found, plus the process I've been kind of doing with all these parts. So if we step back into the land of Oakland parts, you guys can see that I have a bunch more parts. Now in the last video I showed the timing cover, I showed the valve covers, and I showed a couple other parts, but I have a bunch more, and I found way more too, and I'll be showing you that later in this video. But we'll start over here. You guys have all seen the block. You guys can get a better picture of it in the light, and I'll be going over it too. But I was able to shine this beautiful gear up. That cleaned up real nice for 93 years old. And I did the chain, time and chain. There's the smaller gear, so that would go on the front of the engine like that. I've got these, I think somebody commented in the last video that these are camshaft covers, and you can see they've been pitted, but they're still sturdy, still got a nice shine to them. They're usable. They're just not as pretty as they used to be. That's pretty much it in that box. In this box, well, we'll start down here. I found 8 of the best pistons that I could find, and I will be showing you the other ones that I have found. But if I can get one of these out here, come on. Some of them are pitted, but some of them move. Some of their piston rings on some of them are free. One of them's cracked on one of them. A lot of these are frozen on the actual rod here at the joint. Some of their nuts are loose and some aren't. They're just the best pistons I could find, and I'm hoping that they're usable. But they turned out real well in that evapo-rust. There's almost not a speck of rust on them, except in that one down there, because there was a bunch of rust in the cups with bolts and stuff, and it was nasty. But the evapor-rust helped out with that, so I found 8 pistons, 8 of the best pistons I could find. Here is the water tube, and that ties to both of the heads and connects to the water pump, which is another part I found. I went out and dug in the old car, and it was actually out there. And you can see that this little pump mechanism here that rotates when it's rotated by the pulley, it's pretty wore out. But it's actually still connected. It's actually still strong. It's just really wore out. It's also got a lot of play on the rod. And there's your little oil tube right there, your little oil cup. You really have to keep this thing lubricated, but it turned out beautifully. There's almost not a speck of rust except in the parts where I couldn't get to it with the wire wheel, like down there. But it turned out great. Set that back down there. I found the pulley. I also found, in the last video you guys saw this. This is, I don't know if this is one of the part of the intake manifold or the exhaust manifold, but that turned out beautifully too, as well. Painted it black, and I put some high temp primer on it, so it should hold up nice. And that's it for most of the parts in here. So that's all the new parts that I've found so far. Now I'm going to get into more specs in this engine. See, I have no idea what's going on with half of the stuff on this engine, but I'm trying to figure it out as I go. For example, that right there that's on the timing cover, that is the synchronizer, the anti-vibration lever that lodges itself into the frame. It doesn't lodge itself, it's actually connected to the frame, and it has a spring that comes out above here, and there's another one in there, and it somehow connects to the camshaft right here somehow, and I think this rod has something to do with it, but I'm not entirely sure. But here's our camshaft. It's locked in there tighter than a frog butt in a watermelon seat fight. We've got another rod here, and that, let me move this real quick. Alright, so you can get a better picture here, and there's a rod that's in here. See, your camshaft is here, your crankshaft is down here, and there's another rod here that holds all these tappets. All of these tappets here, these rocker arms, go to each valve in these ports. And they've got little rollers down there you can see that connect to the camshaft, or don't connect but get bumped by this camshaft. And it's kind of cool, but there's all this dirt in the water jacket. This is, I don't know how this dirt got in here. I don't know how these engine blocks, and I'll show you the other one later on in this video. I have no idea. Neither does my dad or anybody else in the family. Since we've had this car, I don't think anybody knows what happened to these blocks and how they got this way. My guess is they sat outside for a long time. But that is what it looks like on the inside. And it doesn't look like there's any mounting points for these covers here, so it must be down below. Yep, there's a spot right there for a nut, or not for a nut, but for a screw or a bolt. But this block isn't as bad on camera as it looks in real life. It's not that bad. There's a lot of surface rust. This surface up here is real bad. It's probably, it's a mixture of leaves and rust and garbage that can probably be wire wheeled off. But my main concern is with this thing is this camshaft is stuck, as well as this rod and all of these rocker arms and tappets. That's my biggest concern. With time, this engine block can be rebuilt. The studs are going to be real hard to get out, and all the other parts that are stuck in there are going to be real hard to get out. But machine shops have a lot of tools at their advantage that can help get this stuff off. And there's another weird thing about this that I've learned, the engine specifically, is there is they called this system the recirculation system, and it has to do with the cooling. You see, if I grab this here, water pump, this water pump would go right here, in there. And you see, there's your lower radiator hose connection, and your top one goes up here on this water tube and to the radiator. Well, there's a bypass tube right here that if the thermostat over here in this tube isn't open already, it'll bypass into this tube, which goes into the water tube right there on that connection, and they go into the heads. And so that was an interesting fact that I found out about this engine. It's got what Oakland called a recirculation system. Very interesting stuff. Now on to the part where I said I was going to take you through the process and everything. This chain was the hardest part to get unstuck, unfrozen, and unrusted. It was completely rusted to this gear. So I had to soak them both once to get them apart. I had to soak this for a couple of days, and I had to soak this thing for at least a week, and then put it in some stronger evaporust. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how I went about cleaning up all these parts right now. Alright, so like I said in the last video, most of these parts have been sitting out in the car uncovered for, I don't know, probably 40 years or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but almost all of them are rusty. So I've soaked them in this evaporust for, just a night or so. But this, for example, this timing chain here was one of the rustiest parts, and it is frozen shut. It will not move, but as you can see, most of that rust is gone. Now you will see, a couple of spots here and there, but that is going to get handled with the wire brush. But I'm just going to take you through the process that I've done with every single one of these parts step by step. So the first thing I do is I get some hot soapy water after they've been in the evaporust overnight, and I just let them soak for a good 10-15 minutes. Kind of swish it around. We want to get all of that evaporust off of the metal, because I've found out the hard way what evaporust does when it is exposed to air for a couple of months. It's pretty sluggy and icky, and you don't want that. And it makes a fine black layer on the metal too, which is real nice. It kind of protects it, but you got to get that stuff off. So a good soak for about 10 minutes in this hot warmy water should do the trick. Alright, so now it's been soaking for about 10 minutes or so. I'm just going to go ahead and take it to the sink and rinse it off real quick. I'm not going to show you that process or that step because it's pretty self-explanatory. So we've gotten it out of the evaporust, we've given it a good soak, and we've rinsed it off. The next thing we got to do is give her some heat. Number one, I did this with all the parts because it's gonna get all of the moisture out and prevent any further rust from happening. And, for example, if parts are stuck or frozen shut, some heat should hopefully do the trick. And so I'm going to use the vise to see if I can crimp this chain together and get some links to break loose. But aside from this, once I get done with the flame, we're going to go ahead and we're going to wire wheel it. As I can see right here, it's starting to dry out. Might take a minute. This chain has a lot of crevices, so we'll be right back. Alright, so after a good amount of smacking, I finally got it to move at least a little bit. There is one dead spot right here that just will not bend without extreme amounts of force. So I'm just going to call it good and leave it at that. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to wire wheel this son of a gun. Alright, so I've been wire wheeling at it for a little bit of time. I'm just trying to get all the rust I can possibly get off of there. Give it a nice, clean finish. Strong and new. And I'm not sure yet, but I think I might try and oil this. It's probably a good idea. Just a light coating around the whole thing to prevent it from rusting. Because everybody knows who works with metal, oil and metal, they love each other. And after a little bit more time, this is what we got. It's not perfect. It still has a lot of rust on the inside of it, but like I said, I'm taking what I can get. Any progress on any of these parts, I'm going to take what I can get. So that is the process of what I've been doing with each and every part so far. So that whole process is exactly what I'm doing to the oil pan right now. Now you see this half up to this line right here has already been evaporusted. It's on the other side now, and you can see right there, there's a spot right here that I'm going to have to just wire wheel. I'm going to paint the outside, but on the inside it doesn't really matter. Another interesting fact on this engine is it also doesn't have an oil filter. But it does have an oil pump system, circulation system, and it's got this screen on the bottom built into the oil pan. And honestly, I would consider that an oil filter. It's the best I can describe it. But every now and then I just got to keep coming and putting some more evaporust on this spot that I can't get to. I just got to keep working it in the spots. Make sure every part of it gets that evaporust the best it can. And I never really showed you guys, but aside from this piston, I'll get to this piston in a minute. This is the carburetor. Now I will also have a link down in the description below to the video that I made on this carburetor. I made it about a year ago, and I pretty much did the same process as I am with all these other parts with this thing, just to see if I could clean it up. And at the time I was worried that I didn't have the carburetor, but I do have the carburetor. It's a big giant marvel. I love this air filter. That is just, I don't know. I don't know. Now, onto this piston. See, this was one of the pistons that I thought was in good shape until I actually got the rust off. I don't know if you can see this, but yeah, that is a healthy crack right there on that piston. Now, it's got good rings, so I could use the rings, but this piston and the connecting rod, but this piston is done for. Solid cast iron, and I don't know, I was hammering on this with a dead blow mallet trying to see if I could free it up. I heated the hell out of it at that joint, but to no avail. And I don't know, this looks like a way older crack than me just hitting it with the hammer, because it's actually got rust in the crack itself, which if I had broken it, it would be fresh, because I had just taken it out of the evapor rust. And like I said earlier, I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple other piston rods that might intrigue you. See, these are all the ones that I could not get. That I could, like I said, it's got all this rust inside the cup and all that. These are the ones that are too bad to use. Like, there's a lot of rust on that one, but you can really get a sense of the difference that evapor rust did for all these parts. Like, this one is not terrible. It's pretty bad on top there. Now, there's a few that are cool. Like, well, that one's also a good looking one. That one too. Where is it? Where is it? Oh, here it is. This one, best I can say is it got neutered. Yeah, I don't know. I have never seen that before in my life. Now, that doesn't look like it rusted out. Although it could have. It must have cracked. It must have broken out. But that is God dang, that is amazing. I've never seen that before in my life. And then there's this one. Also, kind of screwed. Oh man, you can actually see how it cracked. It made a dish. It is dished in. It is dished in. Something kicked the living crap out of that thing. Oofta. Then we've got a clutch plate. I'm going to be needing that. I don't know its condition. I have no idea. Never worked on Oakland parts. I almost forgot to show you guys, but I found the better one of the two distributors that I have. It's rusty in there, but it's all minor rust that evapor rust will take out. And no, I have not put this one in the evapor rust. This one I've just been working on cleaning up. It was caked in grease. You can see the grease there. But this one was the one that was actually free. It actually moves. So I picked this one, and I found a nice cap for it, and something didn't look right about this cap, because I thought I saw in photos that this was a round top distributor cap, and it is. It's missing a piece. Oh, see, all your wires in this distributor are connected via these, look at this, these needles. And then there would be a cap that you would screw on with those two holes there. And the other one, the other distributor cap, has the top. So that's really cool, but this is made of Bakelite, and it cleaned up real nice, but I don't think I can use it if I can't find the cap. But the other one has the cap. So that's good. And I shouldn't forget to mention, I brought in the crankshaft. I just have it resting here under the table. It's actually not in bad shape. It's got the gear down here, so I really don't need that other gear. It's already got that one. These journals are a little rusted, but they don't feel like they're really pitted at all. Really light rust penetration. The weights look good. It looks like a good crankshaft to me. It's just missing a couple of these. I think these are friction fit bolts in these holes, and it's missing, I think, 2 of them. I bet if I were to take this in to get redone, they would probably just replace those with just regular old bolts, grade 8 bolts. And now I'm going to go out to the sheds and I'm going to show you a couple other discoveries that I made for these Oakland engines, or I guess the only Oakland engine, because I can only build one. I get one chance to build one and that's it, but I'm going to go show you some more parts that I discovered. Alright, so out here I discovered, underneath here, you can kind of see back there, maybe, probably not. Hang on just a minute, guys. Alright, you can just barely kind of see there's another head back here, hiding away. And then here is the camshaft to the other parts engine. It's in really good shape. I also found a couple more valves, you can see right there. And there's another one back here too, but then right there, that rod right there is what holds those rockers. That's what I discovered. I'm like, oh, good, we got a spare. And you can see right there, there's 2 more heads, and there's a flywheel down there as well. There's actually 2 flywheels. The other one is actually in the car, on the floorboards, behind the driver's seat. So that's all I have to show you guys parts-wise for now. We've covered pretty much everything. That's the process that I have been using for the past week. All this new progress I've done in the past week. And some of you might be down in the comments saying, you're never going to get this car done, it's too far gone, just sell it, just scrap it. Some of you might be down there asking where I'm getting all this new information from. Well, I made the discovery of a lifetime about a week ago. A little bit after I started working on the Oakland. And I jumped on it. I jumped on it big time. These 2 books right here, guys, are the answer to all my problems. I was able to find a reprint of the 1930 Oakland and Pontiac shop manual for inline 6s and 1930 V8s, and I also was able to find a Fisher & Body service manual for closed cars. Now, where did I find these, you might be asking? Well, while I was doing my research on the car, looking at various images, I found what looked like a service manual page, so I clicked on it. Little did I know, it took me to this website called Faxon Auto Literature. They have pretty much anything you would want, car, book-wise, magazine-wise, brochure-wise. They make reprints. And I'm saying, if they make these, I want to know what they don't make. And these are really good manuals. Like they came in the mail today, and I started skimming through them. And this has literally information, valuable information that I need to restore this car. From the axles, to the brakes, to the engine. There's everything. Like, there it is. That's what that engine is supposed to look like, right there. There's the V8 and a tiny little transmission. But everything you want to know. And there's even specs that a machine shop could use to rebuild this too. It shows you the airflow in the manifold. Like, it is a good manual. That's what I need to rebuild the car mechanical wise. This one I bought because it's all about restoring the wood framework and repairing it on a Fisher & Body car. It goes through all the wood, it even goes through the upholstery a little bit, shows you how to retop it. There's one of the cushions, shows you how to do the armrests. It shows you like later body styles and earlier body styles pre-1931. These books, I'm glad I found. So that's pretty much all I have to show you in this video, guys. I will continue to make updates and show the progress on what I'm doing with the Oakland and the engine and everything, but it's not going to be as frequent. There's a reason why it's in the corner back there, because it's not my current project. It is a back burner project, and there's one reason why. All these parts here and all these parts go to my 1999 Toyota 4Runner. Unfortunately, about a year ago, the head gasket blew on it a little over 250,000 miles. So, I'm currently rebuilding it. It's not going to be too much longer. I know this is not part of the Oakland video, but I figured I would just show you guys what I got to get out of the way first before I can actually start on the Oakland. I've got to get the rest of the exhaust off and get the heads off. We're going to get those machined, got a new water pump, new timing belt. We're going to do all that. We got to do all that. I need my 4Runner back. I need a reliable piece of transportation, and this thing's been down a year. That is currently the main project at the moment. It's not going to be too much longer. We just got to get the heads off. We're going to get them machined. And I think we're taking them to the same place that I got my 22R engine for my 1980 Toyota pickup done. And my dad is a firm believer that they are the best engine shop in the valley. Best engine shop in the valley. I kind of need one of those. For that. It's kind of like what I said in the last video. I'm just trying to get all the engine parts that I can find all the engine parts and get them prepped. The engine needs work. Now what I plan to do next spring is I saw a video where this guy took an engine block, he hoisted it down into a garbage can with a garbage bag wrapped around it, filled it with water and filled the garbage bag with evaporust. Next thing I know, it's a rusty engine block coming out looking like new. That's what I need to do to that thing. It would actually be a good start. Wire wheel the piss out of it and then dip it in evaporust, and it'll probably come out looking almost as good as most of these parts. After that's done, I can take it to the machine shop and they can do the rest of the work. It's like I said in the last video also, I'm just trying to get it to where most of the parts are serviceable, salvageable, and usable, and to make the lives of the machinist easier. This is 93 years old. A lot of the knowledge has been lost. Thankfully, I have those books. And like I said, that has some very needed, valuable specification knowledge that a machinist could use. So I do promise you guys I will continue to do updates as much as I can on the Oakland. And then when the time comes, I'm hoping to get that car in the garage in another 2 years. Because I have some other projects that I want to do first. Some easier ones. But time will tell if I get around to those. That's the problem. Too many projects, too little time. But I do promise you guys that I will try my best to keep doing updates on this project. Because I want to build this car. I want to prove to myself that I can. That's why I want to do it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content. Yamasaki out. We'll see you all later.